That disastrous video you just watched is actually from last Friday when an Alaskan Airlines flight traveling from Portland to Ontario went horribly awry. Now, less than 10 minutes into that flight on a Boeing 737 MAX 9 plane, an unused cabin door detached from the plane, leaving a gaping hole during the flight. Now, miraculously, there were only a few injuries, nothing too serious, and the plane was able to make an emergency landing. But according to documents from a class action lawsuit, Spirit Aerosystems, which is a company that reportedly manufactured the door plug that basically flew off the plane, as well as a subcontractor for Boeing, was aware of potential defects and just decided to ignore the very employee who was airing concerns about those defects. Which gives you a sense of why regulations and government oversight is in fact important. Because when you have corporations that really have one goal, and that is to maximize their profits, they're not going to self-police. And in fact, when they are confronted by an employee who notices that there could be a costly defect on their planes, they're gonna wanna shut the employee down. And it appears that is what happened here. Now, the complaint was originally filed last spring by a group of the company's shareholders who claimed that the company failed to disclose production troubles and also quality control issues. An amended version of that complaint was filed on December 19th with numerous testimonies from employees, okay? So employees are like, we want to share what we have experienced with these airline companies and how we were treated once we made clear that there were some defects that our employers should be aware about and should do something about. So those employees revealed pervasive, I should say. They revealed a pretty pervasive culture of cost cutting and reckless behavior in the top levels of the company. And here's what one of those employees encountered specifically. On February 22nd of 2022, one Spirit inspection worker explicitly told company management that he was being instructed to misrepresent the number of defects he was working on. You're asking us to record in an inaccurate way the number of defects, he wrote in an email to a company official. That makes us and puts us in a very uncomfortable situation. The employee told a colleague that he believed it was just a matter of time until a major defect escaped to a customer. And indeed, that's exactly what happened with that Alaska Airlines flight just last Friday. Now, according to court documents, the anonymous employee was told by a supervisor that if they did not do as they were instructed, which was essentially shut their mouths, they would be fired. But the employee apparently submitted an ethics report anyway, in which they stated the following, quote, "We are being asked to purposefully record inaccurate information, essentially lie about the potential risks and defects on these planes." Now, that brave worker even sent a copy of that ethics report to the CEO of the company, which I give this person a lot of credit for. But after that, the employee was briefly demoted, but luckily was later restored to their earlier position with back pay. He quit several months later, though, and claimed that other inspection team members he had worked with had been moved to new positions when, according to management, they documented too many defects. Hey, I got a proposal. How about you do something about the defects instead of trying to kill the messenger? But of course, I mean, that would require money, that would require resources. And when you have investors breathing down your back or your neck, you're probably gonna listen to the investors before you listen to the employees who are concerned about the issues with these defects. Now, there's a similar story in this lawsuit about a former quality auditor for Spirit who discovered a manufacturing defect in October of 2022. So this employee repeatedly tried to get his higher ups to do something about it, but no action was taken. And unfortunately, the fate of this employee wasn't positive because he was fired later. News of the defect broke on August of 2023, almost a year after the auditor had identified the issue. Now, these individual stories really do reflect how Spirit has prioritized profits over consumer safety. According to the court records, workers believe Spirit placed an emphasis on pushing out product over quality, Inspection workers were allegedly told to overlook defects on final walkthroughs, as Spirit just wanted to ship its completed products as quickly as possible. Now, the company has been under pressure from Boeing to basically ramp up their production, and in earning calls, Spirit shareholders have basically pressed the company's executives about its production rates. So basically, you're not producing quickly enough. Produce. But remember, these are the same shareholders that are now suing Spirit. So on one hand, you have them applying pressure because the shareholders want a return on their investment, of course. But then you have these quality control issues. Then you have these defects with the parts that lead to disastrous situations, which also, of course, are going to hurt the profitability of the company and the returns that the shareholders are seeking. And so now they're suing Spirit. I just think it's hilarious. Take a good hard look at what you guys were pressuring Spirit AeroSystems to do. Consider maybe changing that behavior, because that has led to a situation in which employees who are really tasked with quality control are being ignored in order to continue ramping up production. Now, let's continue, because there's more to this. In 2019 and 2020, the FAA alleged that Spirit delivered parts to Boeing that did not comply with safety standards, then proposed that Boeing accept the parts as delivered, and Boeing subsequently presented the parts as ready for airworthiness certification on hundreds of aircraft. So look, luckily, the aircraft that are impacted by this, according to reports, have been grounded for further investigation. The model can put consumers in danger, and so grounding these specific planes with potential defective parts makes a lot of sense to me. But think about how counterproductive it is to rush through production, ignore defects. You're gonna find yourself in a position where planes need to be grounded. And I'm sure that's not positive news for anyone looking to prioritize the profitability of these companies. And it is a huge relief that so far no one's been hurt. But this is why it's important to have government oversight. It's not enough to just rely on corporations or companies to self-police. Because again, when it comes down to it, if the main goal here is to maximize profits on behalf of the shareholders, and that is really the main goal, they're gonna prioritize that above and beyond anything else, including the safety of their own customers. So again, good news that no one got hurt. Good news that this was caught before anyone got hurt. But it does give you a sense of how the sausage is made and how disastrous things can be if you don't have adequate government regulation and oversight.
Thanks for watching the video, guys. We also love it if you hit the join button below, because that makes you a member, and members allow us to be independent, honest. We could be as progressive as we want, no corporate media influence, and that's all because of you guys. We love doing the show with our members. Hit the join button, become one of the Young Turks.